Welcome back to Every Naval Battle in History. In episode 9 we can finally turn away from the Persian Wars and check back on the Western Mediterranean. There we find the native Italian Etruscan civilisation trying to push back against the invading Greek colonists in what would culminate as the Battle of Cumae. Let's talk about Magna Graecia. From around the 8th century BCE, Greek cities had been springing up in southern Italy, to the point it was widely known as Greater Greece, Magna Graecia. I find the British interpretation of Greek colonisation interesting. One might say there's a whiff of self-justification. As an Australian, I live in a colonised landscape, and the lies told to justify Greek expansion resonates strongly. Talk of peaceful coexistence when one side is militarily dominant and has taken all the best locations for cities and is farming all the best land available can more accurately be described as subjugation. Similarly, airy assurances that the natives had adopted Greek language and customs should not be taken, as it is presented, as happy assimilation. Here in Australia, the First Nations people might speak English and wear European clothes. It does not mean they accept or are in any way happy about the arrival of British colonisers and the theft of their lands. Throughout history, genocide is more often carried out simply by driving people out of their homes in winter and letting hunger and exposure do the work. Whenever the British talk about their colonisation in terms of spreading civilisation, remember it was always about making money. And I've seen nothing to suggest Greek colonisation was any different, with a helpful side serving of managing surplus population. In any event, 3 centuries is plenty of time for a colonising population to put their roots down and feel they've been there forever. It's also worth noting the dialect of Greek is still spoken in southern Italy by a population who have not gone anywhere in the last 2.5 millennia. Modern-day Naples, for example, is simply a contraction of the name Neapolis, or New City, a new city in 800 BCE still bearing the name. As for the Etruscans. As discussed in episode 4, the Battle of Alalia, the Etruscans were the dominant peoples of northern Italy. For centuries, the relatively unimportant city of Rome was part of the Etruscan world. They seem to have had a sensible understanding of the threat posed to them by Greek colonisation in the region. Not natural mariners, as for example island peoples tend to be, they nevertheless invested heavily in naval forces to drive the Greeks back. As we will see countless times in this series, the problem with investing in naval power is that it is a high-stakes winner-takes-all game. So with that out of the way, in 474 BCE the Etruscans were attacking the Greek city of Kumai. In Syracuse, a city in Sicily, the hereditary tyrant Hieron was looking to buff his credentials and protect his position as worrying ideas like democracy were spreading through the Greek-speaking world. To get a sense of his insecurity, Hieron is famous for establishing the world's first secret police, and paying the great poets of the era to write nice things about him. Poets have to eat and pay the rent too, you know. A large combined Greek fleet descended on the Etruscan naval forces at Kumai and wiped them out. Hieron sent a captured Etruscan helmet to be dedicated to Zeus at Olympia. The helmet was later stolen by the British, I think they prefer the terms excavated or discovered, and is held by the British Museum, who put this photograph online. The inscription reads, Hieron, son of Dinomenes and the Syracusans, dedicated to Zeus, Etruscan spoils from Kumai. The poet Pindar earned his supper writing the first Pythian ode about it all. I pray you, son of Cronos, grant that the war cry of Phoenicians and Etruscans may stay at home now that they have seen their insolent violence. Bring lamentation on their fleet for what it endured at Kumai, crushed by the Syracusan commander who hurled their finest men from their swift ships into the sea and rescued Greece from harsh slavery. From Salamis I shall earn the Athenians thanks as payment, and in Sparta for my tale of the battles before Cytherion, where the Medes who shoot with curved bows were overcome. But by the well-watered bank of Himera my reward shall be for the song I have made for Dinomenes' son, which they earned by their courage when their enemies were overthrown. It's worth noting that the ancient Greeks, giving no damns at all about any land beyond sight of the sea, thought that the river Himera, of the above-mentioned well-watered bank, ran through the middle of Sicily, exiting both in the north and south of the island. Anyone who knows anything about rivers knows that is difficult to believe. The damage to the Etruscan civilization was fatal. The way was opened up for the rise of Rome. More episodes to come. We've got a lot of ground to cover as we take on every naval battle in history.